The Gaze upon Merz, a prayer of St. G. His name was Merz because he was said to be a miserable boy, and misery became Merz. Was it his fault he was sickly or had been shamed in his sex by other children? He should be happy not to have grown to be a homosexual or a predator. But seemingly he could not be happy. He could not escape who he was. And this could be said of any man, yet with different particulars. The particulars are put in place by you, God of decree, God of all-knowing, God of love. The light you bring to the world is the light within us, so that we may see our very being, which is more than our personality or intents. Thus seeing, we will cry for help, knowing we are not in any way able. And if we seek a reason, may look only to the cross, where the suffering of all is laid to rest. Was it you then made mine a perverted soul? Rather should I have been a bland, unchallenged, plastic man? For the human psyche, even of pure Adam, had not attained its completion. For was he glorified? No, yet this is the fullness of a man, and is not given at birth, nor earned by process. It is given to some of us, his children, by the Lord high God in a communion with his suffered Son. And the psyche is of the flesh of man, outside of which is the spirit, containing body and soul. We are made in your image, a spirit, thus to live a spiritual life, no other. The nature of man was not itself immediately after God's image, but was created only for personal union with the Spirit in God's likeness, and destined to become glorified into a similar likeness of God. The body was created before the Spirit, and thus the beginning of man's being was unconsciousness. The basis of our natural condition was an existence in itself, blind and dark, preceding our knowledge and our will, to enlighten and to govern which was the province of the Spirit. And this not a physical task, but a spiritual office. Holiness was within us as potential, and we, glorified only as it becomes actuality. Man, the creature, stands in opposition to the divine, in need of glorification to eternally rest beside you. Even apart from the sin that intervened, man was to become partaker of that glory which you from eternity possess. When the Spirit breathed light upon us, why were we not enlightened in our entirety? No creature is light in its own nature, in such a way as you are in yours, not even the angels. Human existence shows its conditional state. When we first conceived the thought of I, it was the totality of our nature that had originated without our concurrence and consisting of spirit, soul, and body, which in our thought of I, we comprehended. The glorification of man was not to, and could not, ensue without the knowledge and will of our spirit. Man was created psychical, but with the destination and means to become spiritual. The soul has an existence severed from its origin. It is stiffened into a passive, deliberate neutrality. Man was created as one, then became conscious of his halfness. The woman within him was drawn out by you. Thus also it is said of marriage, the two shall become one flesh. What this looks like in heaven we do not know. We are eternal beings. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of your way, before your works of old. I was set up from everlasting, or ever the earth was. When there were no depths, I was brought forth, before the mountains, the fields, the heavens. Then I was by you brought up with you, and I was daily your delight. Who finds me finds life. And so we ask ourselves, mine is not to be or was, but if my being is to find life, it will be in you. The Spirit of God has made me, and I was dormant in my spirit from the womb. Your breath has given me life, forming my spirit within me. All souls are mine, saith the Lord. The soul that sins, it shall die. Thus our present state. Though we are in being, our being is not set upon the path of glorification, which is the only way we shall live with you, glorious God. The redeemed of the Lord shall return to life, and come with singing unto Zion, and everlasting joy shall be upon our head. Sorrow and mourning flee. For thereupon we have been born of God and do not sin, while yet in the presence of sin we are not under the dominion of sin, now incorruptible by the word of God, which lives and abides forever. The secret of holy living lies in the mind. We are to be persuading those who are under the dominion of sin that they are under the dominion of sin, and ourselves to persuade ourselves that we are no longer under the dominion of sin. We are to know that we have died to sin. From the kingdom of dead sin we have been raised to a newness of life, to the kingdom of the beloved Son of God. By grasping the glory of your gospel, we may stand the holy gaze of God in all eternity. And we did nothing, but were radically transformed to a new state of being, one dead to sin and alive in Jesus Christ. The kingdom of sin is all around and about us, but we do not live there, so that we do see and know that all which was is now gone. The misery of Merz remains upon him, living in the presence of sin all around, and in fact, believers in it. Though their natural conscience somewhat plagues them, it is not enough to escape the kingdom of sin, nor do we have such power. But the power of your Spirit came within us, bringing us into the kingdom of light, there to find the being which is us, on its true path to fullness, to glorification. It is the glory of the Son of God living in us, set in the way of marriage. The two shall become one, our being in yours. Amen.